the silent variant. The first signs of the new variant appeared in a small, isolated village in Eastern Europe. No one paid attention at first. The world had already endured waves of COVID-19, and the exhaustion from years of lockdowns and vaccines made people numb to the news. But this strain was different. It didn't show up in nasal swabs, didn't trigger fevers, and it didn't kill, at least not in the traditional sense. I had spent the last decade studying viral evolution, tracking mutations, and understanding how nature found ways to surprise us. When I received an anonymous email about the new variant, nicknamed SV48, by a group of underground researchers, I dismissed it at first. Then I saw the footage. The video, grainy and distorted, showed a man in his 30s sitting at a kitchen table, staring at the camera. He didn't blink. His breathing was shallow, rhythmic. Then, without any warning, he stood up and walked stiffly to the wall. He pressed his forehead against it, motionless. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Suddenly, his body convulsed violently, his limbs jerking as if controlled by invisible strings. The person behind the camera sobbed but didn't intervene. The video cut off. Tracing the email led me to a researcher named Katerina Novakova, a Czech scientist who had vanished from the public eye months earlier. I reached out, expecting no response. To my surprise, she replied within minutes. "They listen when we talk. Call me only on a landline." The next evening, I dialed the number she provided. The voice on the other end was hoarse and frantic. "Thank God, it's spreading in silence. It doesn't make people sick. It makes them something else. It starts with a dream." "A dream?" I frowned, taking notes. "Yes, everyone reports the same one. A voice whispering their name from the darkness. They wake up feeling different, like something is watching them from inside. They become quiet, distant, and then they change. Change how? They stop being human." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "What do you mean?" "Their eyes, they go blank, they don't eat, don't sleep, and then they start moving in patterns, strange, repetitive motions. One man walked in circles for hours. Another woman kept stacking chairs in her backyard, higher and higher, until she was 50 feet in the air. And the worst part? Her voice dropped to a whisper. They start infecting others just by being near them. No cough, no sneeze, just presence. And once it gets you, it doesn't let go." I swallowed hard. "How do you know all this?" "Because I have it." The line went dead. I wasted no time. I contacted my colleagues at the World Health Organization, but no one took me seriously. "People are traumatized," they told me. "Mass hysteria is common after a global crisis." Frustrated, I took a flight to Prague, determined to find Katerina myself. The address she had given me led to an abandoned research facility. Dust covered the shattered windows, and the air smelled stale, untouched for months. Inside, stacks of papers covered the desks. Notes on SV48, timelines, testimonies, but no sign of Katerina. Then I heard it, a faint tapping. I followed the sound down a dimly lit hallway, my footsteps echoing. The tapping grew louder. At the end of the hall was a door, slightly ajar. I pushed it open. Katerina stood in the center of the room, her back to me. Her head tilted slightly, as if listening to something I couldn't hear. Her fingers drummed against the desk in a slow, deliberate rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. "Katerina?" I whispered. She turned. Her eyes were black. No whites, no pupils, just endless voids. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Then she took a step forward, her movements jerky, unnatural like a marionette on tangled strings. I stumbled back, knocking over a stack of papers. She lunged. Somehow, I managed to slam the door shut, my hands shaking as I locked it. The tapping resumed almost immediately. Faster now, more urgent. I ran. By the time I reached the airport, I was drenched in sweat. I boarded the next flight to the US, my mind racing. It doesn't make people sick. It makes them something else. Days passed, then weeks. I monitored the news obsessively. Reports surfaced of people behaving strangely, disappearing, entire households going silent. But no alarms were raised. The world had moved on. Governments ignored the warnings. Then I had the dream. A voice whispered my name from the darkness. I woke up gasping, drenched in cold sweat. I felt different. The room seemed quieter, the shadows deeper. I tried to shake it off, but an unease settled in my bones. That evening, as I sat in my study, I caught myself tapping my fingers against the desk. Slowly, deliberately. Tap, tap, tap. My breath hitched. I forced myself to stop, gripping the edge of the desk until my knuckles turned white. It's just paranoia. Then I noticed something. The shadows in the room weren't quite right. They stretched unnaturally, shifting in ways they shouldn't. I turned toward the mirror across the room and froze. My reflection wasn't copying me. It just stood there, smiling. The next morning, I didn't show up for work. My apartment was found empty. The only sign that I'd ever been there was a single sheet of paper left on my desk. It read, "It doesn't kill. It replaces